gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them call you.
At the beginning of World War I, the British government created the British War Propaganda Bureau to increase the number of men that were enlisting. On September 2, 1914, Charles Masterman, head of the British War Propaganda Bureau, held a conference with many prominent authors, discussing ways to promote the government's perspective. Some agreed to publish propagandistic stories. Anyone that attended the conference agreed to confidentiality. It wasn't until 1935 did the general public become aware of such activities. One example of black propaganda is the Angels of Mons. It was a rumor spread throughout the British military after the Battle of Mons. According to General John Charteris, quote, "Angels of the Lord on the traditional white horse and clad in all white with flaming sword faced the advancing Germans at Mons and forbade further progress." End quote. It is generally believed that the myth originated from a story called The Bowman by Arthur Machen. The Bowman was heavily based off of the Battle of Mons. It goes something like this. During the Battle of Mons, a British soldier recalled dinner plates that were used in London restaurants. They were embellished with St. George in the phrase, "May St. George be a present help to the English." Then, suddenly, ghosts resembling archers appeared. Then the ghostly bowman launched hundreds of arrows at the Germans, causing many German fatalities. Since Machen's story was heavily based off the Battle of Mons, it was interpreted as factual, despite the fact that Machen had said multiple times the story was fictional. Some religious magazines still believed the story was factual, despite Machen's statements. In December 1915, the Society of Psychiatrical Research stated that, quote, "Many of the stories of visions on the battlefields were found on mere rumor." End quote. During this time period, many countries published stories that painted enemy soldiers as monsters. One example of such is the German corpse factory myth.
During World War I, one of the many first rumors were how Germany had built corpse factories. One example was from when it was reported from a diary from an English writer by the name of Cynthia Asquith, whom in her diary on June 16, 1915, talked about rumors that the Germans were using corpses from the front lines by converting them into glycerin, or soap. Rumors about this did begin to settle down until in April 1917, when the rumor reappeared in Shanghai. A week later, the Times newspapers reported knowing about the parts of the process behind these corpse factories. In it, they wrote saying that first, the German soldiers were carrying the bodies from the front lines, tying 3 to 4 bodies with iron wire. Second, the bodies would be carried onto a train where it would be transported to the chief factory, the corpse factory, where the bodies would then be unloaded by workers who wore oilskin overalls. Third, the workers would equip a long hook over these bodies and connect them into an endless chain inside the factory. In 2 feet intervals, each bundle would be transported to a long narrow compartment where they would be disinfected in a bath and dried in the drying chamber. After being dried, the bodies would be carried into the digester, or great cauldron, where the bodies would disconnect from the chain by an apparatus and remain in the digester for 6 to 8 hours. In a digester, they would be treated with steam while being slowly stirred by machinery, which would then break up the bodies into little bits. Now, you might be wondering, where did it get this info? Well, it was from General John Charteris, the Chief Intelligence Officer of the British Expeditionary Force. The whole reason why the rumor reappeared in China was because of this guy. Since these rumors began to arise again, this led to questions being asked about in Parliament on April 30th, 1917. In it, many questions and comments were said. One was even asking if these rumors were even true, while another said how even talking about these stories were creating anxiety and misery to the British people. Regardless, the British still found these rumors to be true. Until 1924, 6 years after World War I ended, Brigadier General John Charteris finally admitted during a private dinner in New York that he fabricated the entire rumors, and also lied to the government and House of Commons when he was being questioned about it. With this in mind, the corpse factory rumors, invented by him, became one of the most infamous lies during World War I. Another rumor that existed during World War I was the crucified soldier. On August 19, 1914, it was told that while the British were retreating from an area in France, the German army had crucified members of the British Expeditionary Force. But this report was never confirmed with enough evidence, so the rumor was brushed off. Then, on May 10, 1915, a newspaper had published saying that a group of wounded Canadian soldiers in France had one of their officers crucified. They described how their officer's hands and feet were pinned against a wall by bayonets, along with another being stabbed into their throat, and then the officer's body being riddled with bullets. The following day, the Toronto Star's newspaper published an interview with an individual from the British Red Cross who said that before the captain died, he told him how he, along with others, saw the crucifixion of a Canadian sergeant. Many wounded soldiers said that the story was true. Other sources were even saying that the sergeant was transfixed to a wooden fence of a farm building. Nonetheless, they were never verified by any actual sources, which made these crucified soldier stories no more than rumors. In the end, it is now believed that the story of the crucified Canadian soldiers during the trench warfare, along with other stories and rumors covered in the video, are rumors that were part of General Charteris' black propaganda against the Germans.